him say, "Son, thy sins be forgiven thee," oh, all their antennas went straight up. Red lights were flashing in their minds, sirens blaring. That was a big no-no. And without any collusion among them, they all immediately thought the exact same thing. And you can see it in verse 7. "Why doth this man thus speak blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God only?" Well, he is either a blasphemer or he is God. That part is true. I mean, those are really your only two choices. You can't get away with claiming that Jesus was a great moral teacher when he's claiming to have the ability to forgive sins, when he's calling himself the Son of God, when he's receiving worship of people. I mean, if he's a moral teacher, he wouldn't do that. And if he's doing that and he's good, then that means he's God. Like C.S. Lewis famously put it, he's either the Lord or a liar or a lunatic, but he's not a great moral teacher. Because the basic premise behind their reasoning is correct. They correctly reason that only God could forgive sins. And for a common mortal to presume to be able to forgive sins, that was arrogating to himself a power that only God could possibly have. That much they had right. So what was the flaw in their reasoning? The flaw in their reasoning was assuming that Jesus was just another common mortal. That's where they went wrong. And when he said, "Thy sins be forgiven thee," they didn't give him credit for having the power and authority to be able to say those words. Despite all the power he has shown for over a year now, with the multitude, the seemingly unlimited miracles of healing he's been doing, the huge range of miracles, the healing of the man that was eaten up with leprosy. And despite that, despite the expectation that they had that the Messiah was due to come on the scene in those days, even before John the Baptist introduced him to the nation, they were looking for the Messiah to come about then. And despite the many messianic prophecies that Jesus was fulfilling right and left. I mean, they should have recognized it. It should have been obvious, but they didn't recognize it. In verse number 8, "And immediately when Jesus perceived in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves, he said unto them, Why reason ye these things in your hearts?" Now notice that. 2 Chronicles 6:30 says that God only knoweth the hearts of all the children of men. You know, the devil does not even know what's in your heart unless you blab it. Yeah. You say, "Well, what if I pray? Does he hear me when I pray?" When you draw nigh to God, you know what the devil does? He don't want to be anywhere around there. No, you can talk to God. It's in confidence between you and God in your prayer closet. But Jesus knew instantly what they were thinking. And if none of the other evidences had convinced them, this one should have. He was their long-expected Messiah. He knew what was in their hearts, and that should have made his identity undeniable. So now it's becoming increasingly evident that their skepticism against him is not honest. There's an agenda that they're trying to protect. There's a self-interest that they're determined to hold on to. And Jesus says in verse number 9, "Whether is it easier to say to the sick of the palsy, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Arise and take up thy bed and walk?" Now Jesus is putting their skepticism to the test. Are they going to stand by their hypocrisy, or are they going to come clean and admit the truth about him? You know, any faker can say, "Thy sins be forgiven thee." There are priests all around the world on a daily basis who will tell people, "Thy sins be forgiven thee. I absolve you of your sins." Huh? Can you prove whether or not they can? I mean, when they say, "I absolve you of your sins," does the person suddenly, their skin tone suddenly turn paper white as all of their sins evaporate out of them? No, there's no way you can prove that. They're not risking anything. There's no way to disprove it. But to tell a paraplegic, "Rise, take up thy bed, and go to your house," oh, you're sticking your neck out now. you're really putting your reputation on the line now, right? I mean, either you've got the power to do that or you don't, and it's about to show up real big time. And so we would really have to have the power of God to pull that off. And Jesus' point is, if I have the power to do what you can see, would that prove to you that I also have the power to do what you cannot see? Because throughout the New Testament, the power to work miracles, miracles that people could see, was intended to convince them that Jesus also had the power to work the miracle of the new birth that they could not see.